Welcome to the November edition of Feeding Our Faith. Today we are going to be cooking macaroni and cheese. Now, I know all of us have had, the boxed macaroni and cheese. A lot of us grew up with that. We're not going to be doing boxed macaroni and cheese, though. We're going to be doing it from scratch. So I've got with me Vaughn Velez and Ann Blosser, who are with me to help a little bit in the cooking process. And one of the first things we need to do is we need to get actually 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter in a pot and get that melting. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And what we're going to do is we want to heat up the butter until it begins to kind of froth a little bit. And then once it begins to froth, we will add into it, 6 tablespoons of flour, 1 3/4 teaspoon of dry mustard, and 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now the cayenne pepper is optional. 1/8 teaspoon is something, it's good for people with mild taste, but if you need to add a little bit extra of the cayenne, then you can always add a little bit extra cayenne. It never hurt anybody. So hopefully nobody saw that part. But so now, while we're doing that and getting the butter melted, we'll need a big stock pot that we'll actually begin to boil the noodles. Now, the best is to use elbow macaroni, the big elbow macaroni, because then they hold all the good cheese on the inside. You boil it until it's almost done, but not quite done. You want it to have a little bit of firmness to it. So usually you boil it for about 6 minutes. And how's the butter looking?
Your butter's ready for your flour.
Butter's ready for the flour. So we're going to mix in the flour. We're going to mix in the cayenne pepper and the dried mustard. So we take 5 cups of milk and usually try and make it very warm. You can heat it up in the microwave, or if you don't have a microwave, the stovetop works well. And what Ann's going to do for us is she's going to slowly pour it in there here in a second. Is going to pour the milk in slowly while Vaughn continues to whisk it. Now while they're whisking that and getting that in, you'll need to grate some cheese. What I found seems to work really well is a combination of Monterey Jack, which melts very well as smoked Gouda, which adds a little bit of a strong cheese taste, and also some medium cheddar. Now the reason for the medium cheddar is I've made macaroni and cheese with purely white cheese, and people get a little thrown off by the fact that their macaroni and cheese is white. They want it to be a little yellow. So what I usually do is I will put some cheddar, some mild cheddar in as well. So once they've incorporated that in, what we're going to be looking for is we want it to be mixed to the point and kind of heated up to the point to where it becomes almost thick like cream. And that's just going to take a few minutes. We're going to begin combining the cheeses, okay? So the first we'll combine is the smoked Gouda, and we'll also put in this Munster cheese. Now you might need to adjust the heat down to more of a low to medium, and we'll add the Munster. There we go. Perfect, thank you, ma'am. So you want to add this in and get it nice and melted, and then you probably turn the heat off. And nope, we won't add the cheddar yet. You can always add more salt later. You can serve it with a little bit of salt and pepper, but it should be that consistency right there. You kind of look and it's kind of thick, and we'll add in the elbow macaroni. Whoops, thank you. And while we're doing that, Ann, if we wouldn't mind, could you spray the pan that we're going to use for the macaroni and cheese with a little bit of the non-stick cooking spray? Do we need it another? There we go.
Do it that way.
Pour it in. Oh, perfect. Now stop. We want kind of a thin layer of the macaroni and cheese right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some of the cheddar to give it that little bit of a nice yellowy, orangey macaroni and cheese look to it that a lot of people seem to like. So we're going to add a layer of this medium cheddar cheese that's been grated. And while we're doing this, we will turn the oven on to 350 and get it ready. All right. You can dump. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put a crunchy crust on top of our mac and cheese. So we will combine 3 tablespoons of melted butter with some panko breadcrumbs. We'll actually be using about 3/4 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs. So Vaughn, if you'd kind of mix that for me. And you and I are going to add the last layer of cheddar cheese. You ready?
Yes.
All right, I'll let you sprinkle it on there for me. I'm gonna keep this, there we go. And we won't have to bake it long. What we're basically gonna do is we're gonna bake it until the cheese melts, which is gonna take about 15 minutes. And then we will put it on the broiler for about another 2 minutes to kind of brown up the top. And there we go. All right, perfect. Now we will take this and stick this in a 350-degree oven for the next 15 minutes. And then we will come back and check on it and put it on to broil. So now we have our macaroni and cheese here, which we've plated up a little bit. And Vaughn and Ann are here with me to talk a little bit about saints, which saints are a very vital and important part of our Catholic faith. And so I'm wondering, Vaughn and Ann, do you all have a favorite saint, or what's kind of your familiarity with the saints in general?
My favorite saint is usually whoever I'm praying to at that particular moment. This week it happens to be St. Joseph for workers.
Oh, really? Why St. Joseph?
I have a friend who's having a particular stressful situation at work, and so I've been praying the novena each day for things to go smoothly at work.
Okay.
So.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah. So I love the saints. I like them all. I don't have a favorite.
So, Ann, how about you?
Well, I like the saints. I think sometimes we think that the saints were or are way better than us, and in reality, the saints, struggled just like we do. They made some bad decisions or choices like we have, but in the end, they went out and because they chose to follow God.
And Vaughn, I know that the saints will be something that y'all are going to talk about, and Feeding Our Faith will be taking place this next Sunday. So we hope that you'll come to the potluck and hear what Ann and Vaughn have to say a little bit more about the saints and how they're also very much like you and I. And so with that, should we go ahead and try the mac and cheese, which I've already dove into?
Yes, Mister, you were eating while you were talking. Yeah, very cheesy.